You look at what steps tell me where it's working along the way.
And so what I'm doing is learning how to harvest more crops off of the people that are kind of coming through, and then you start to stack it.
I have to change the language to the ideal people reading it.
4 to 5 times you're going to pack it up and decide not to do it and be like, whew. The cool thing is that you know that you have bait that fish will react to. You just got to tune
Yeah.
it.
Because like for me, I like to have all my metrics for the different stages, and I'll pick 2 or 3 what we call North Star metrics, which are I know everything's chugging along nicely if we're also hitting these.
Welcome to The Leads Are Shit. This is 2025. This is new. This is myself and Andrew Fogliato. Andrew is the founder of Just Sell Homes, a real estate marketing companies, or a marketing company for realtors. Is that a good way to put it?
And brokerages, the industry. We have
The
like
industry.
coaches, brokerages, like primarily is realtors, but we also do brands, coaches, and stuff like that too. So, but it's all residential real estate industry.
Andrew also is the CEO of Just Sell Homes, the owner of Just Sell Homes. Grand Poobah, what do you call yourself?
Andrew.
There you go. He is
I
the
go high end with the
Andrew
title.
of Real Estate Magazine. Could be.
That works.
Could be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's your big deluxe 2025 intro
We're fancy.
with a couple of
Oh,
asterisks
shit.
there.
Yeah, 1 or 2. I just go by
Mhm.
Andrew. It seems to work. If I can eventually get Andrew to be like Madonna, I don't have to say my last name. But it's more
Oh,
likely to go
nice.
by last. Andrew might
Are
be
you
too
gonna do
common
like
of a name.
Sirhan and use like the period? Andrew, period.
I think I'd have to go fully out of. There's just too many Andrews.
There you go.
Yeah.
So are you a New Year's resolution kind of guy?
No. I made
No.
one years ago to never do one again, and I have stuck to it.
Oh, I like it.
Are you?
I'm an anytime resolution guy. I think
So
some
that's
people should be making some changes. So
that's
if,
my reasoning is like if I'm gonna make a change, I'm not gonna wait like for mine is to lose weight. But I'm like
Mhm.
that I wasn't gonna wait till January. I just started working out back then. So I was like,
Yeah, well, that's the thing is I think that some people find the momentum to be better, right?
no.
But if you are currently in the momentum of your New Year's resolution, know that tomorrow is the day people quit.
Yeah, pretty common.
Okay? So the gym is going to be better starting the 11th if you go to the gym and you're tired of the people that are like, "Where's the bathroom?" Like those folks.
Yeah.
But that's probably what you don't like is the bandwagon people.
Yeah, well, so like I joined just because like my buddy owns it, local CrossFit gym.
Mhm.
And CrossFit because it's more expensive than like an LA Fitness type of stuff. They don't get as many of those like New Year, New Me types that leave in 2 weeks. Like
Mm.
they stick, but they also don't have that huge rush the same way in January. So it's a
Mhm.
little bit different where I am. But yeah, like it used to be, you just avoid it for the first 2 weeks of January, then go back because everyone else has stopped.
Well, shout out to my buddy Andy, who we should really have on the show. Andy is Andy C, the number one agent in California.
Yep.
And man,
I know
does he
the
ever have
name.
clarity when it comes to real estate.
Yeah.
I've traveled everywhere. I used to chase some of the top people in the world. And I have to say that the way that Andy runs a squad of like, I think there's 9 of them in total, him plus 8 maybe.
Yeah.
It is exceptional. Like over 300 ends in Silicon Valley.
It's pretty good.
Whew, spicy. So
Not
anyway, we
bad.
should definitely have Andy on. But Andy is he really believes that like take that momentum in New Year's, and he called me out, and now I'm doing water and steps, and he's asking me to give up the sugar in my coffee, and that
Oh,
might be a
drop
bridge
it.
too far.
No, you just put something else in. It's fine.
I can't do it. I can't. I don't
Yeah.
know about this whole.
You
I
still
got a
need
lot of
some
learning
joy
to
in
do.
life.
I
Like,
got a lot of learning to do.
yeah, a little bit at a time. No, but like for example, like if I want to drink more water, like I got this. But I didn't start that in January. I just started drinking this more and keeping it on my desk.
Hmm.
I just don't I've never been one to do it like start January 1st or anything like that. It's been just when you decide you want to make a change, just make the change.
Well, let's do it now. It's
Yeah.
January 9th, right? Like this isn't a
Perfect.
New Year's resolution. It's too late for that shit.
Yeah.
So right now it's January 9th, and when I take a look at this year, one of the things that kind of rings out to me is that you can't manage it if you don't measure it. And then the other thing is, how are you building your spring right now? So those are the two things that really jump out at me as time of year things. We're in that first full week coming out of the new year. And is our marketing calendar in place? And then also, how are we going to know if it's working? What are some clear measurements we can kind of dig into?
Yeah. And what I also like to set up on my end, I deliver guys, but so my dog might start barking and making a lot of noise. But if that's okay. So I like we like what I like to do is like there's two parts, right? Like there's the marketing calendar. Here's what we're gonna be doing. But I always like to pick, and I just like three. That's a round number. Like three things I'm gonna do every day. That worst case, this will move it forward a little bit. So like when we're like the most people one we've been doing with the three daily drivers is like for Instagram, right? So it's like I'm gonna DM five people, shoot a question and answer reel, and then I'm gonna go reply to five stories or something like that. But it's like we know every day we're gonna do these three things. It's like
Mm-hmm.
we've got them, we know it. My like those days where when you get swamped, got to put fires out, all that stuff. It's like, okay, no matter what, I'm still going to do this. And it's like, I
Mm.
know that that's working towards my goal for that. It's like my
So
minimum.
last year you were in that space with video, with short form video, right?
Yep.
Is there something this year that you have that has comes to mind there? Same thing or different?
I think right now we're mostly going to be doing more of that. I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
be testing out different styles. Like, really, what last year was for me for Instagram was getting back in the habit of regular posting. Because, like, what had happened, especially when we bought REM, is between running Just Sell Homes, running REM, all that stuff, I just got super busy and then didn't necessarily have the time to do like the type of in depth content I want to do. So we're now kind of getting back into like I've got everything in a good place where I can start pumping out more. So I'll give you a great example. Like couple weeks like mid-December, I think I mentioned once, I started a new show on on a new YouTube channel. And I've put out 5 episodes since then. And those are like 9 to 13 minutes long.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just like, I got an idea. 2 hours later, the first episode was out. But it's like putting that out somewhat regularly, which is pretty nice. But it's like I've figured out a way to do it that fits with my style in terms of like not my speaking style necessarily, just like how it works best for me to get that type of content out. And like for me, that account, because that's actually separate from JSH and REM technically, is gonna be my like mess around account. So I'll be like, maybe I try things that completely flop and I'm not gonna care. I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, let's just throw a bunch of stuff out there and see what happens. So like right
So it's your
now, what I'm
burner
trying,
account.
pretty much with my name on it.
Okay. It's a
But like
public burner account. Is that even
what
a
I'm,
thing?
probably not.
Okay, it's new. It's this new
Yeah.
public burner account.
Also, as my younger employees will say, we're showing our age by calling it a burner. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah, apparently, like, because I referred to an Instagram account one time as a burner account. And they're like, no, no, it's a Finsta. What's wrong with you? You're so old.
Oh, Finsta.
Yeah, fake Instagram. Terrible. Burner is so much better. So they're wrong. The older people are right.
Well, either way,
Um,
you're cooked. No cap.
yeah, yeah. Skibbity toilet, whatever they call now.
We're
No
that
idea.
guy. We're that old
Yeah.
now.
Yeah, this is gonna be one of those. Someone's gonna cut this and be like, "Look how old these guys are. Don't hire
So
them."
you're doing YouTube that's kind of
Yeah,
more just you. You're
and
streaming your thoughts. You're going to see what sticks and what hits.
my initial testing right now is zero editing because like most YouTube videos in that like 10-minute range, it's a lot of like cuts and stuff like that, right? Like you see the fast paced go. For me, it's just so the show's called Inbox Zero that I'm testing out. And it's basically, I get emailed a lot of questions by people in the industry, and I keep answering the same questions over and over again over email. So I'm just taking those, and then each episode will answer 3 to 4 questions. But I
Mm-hmm.
basically just put the questions in front of me on the screen, and I just read the question and then answer it.
Mm.
And I just do that 4 times. And then I say, thanks for tuning in. See you on the next one. Um, so I'm going to test this for a little bit, see how that goes retention wise, do all that. In the meantime, what I'll start doing is finding an editor who will then come in and edit it. And then we'll test comparatively, like, what if on the screen it's like when I read the question, it like cuts to like a Google and it looks like someone typing it in with the clacking of the keyboard, like that style of editing, that type of thing. See how that does comparatively.
Engagement editing.
Yeah, and then maybe
Yeah,
I'll
like
throw
visual
one
engagement.
where I'll just find like an AI editor and just say I'm gonna throw the whole raw footage into an AI tool, see what it does.
Hmm.
Right. So like I loved this thing, and I think this is how I'm gonna start breaking things out when I'm playing it from Coke. And there someone was breaking down the Coca-Cola marketing budget breakdown. I think we talked about this like a month ago. But it's like 70% of their budget just goes to the tried and true that we know this works. 20% goes to let's take the tried and true and just change one little thing to see if we can improve it. And then 10% just goes to crazy bold ideas.
Hmm.
So it's like that's what I want to start trying is like, okay, let's take 10% of my content creation time. Let's just try shit and see what happens. Right. So
Hmm.
like recently I did for REM an article and it was like 2025 marketing trends that I'm seeing. And what you saw in REM was not what I wrote originally. So I just so everyone knows, if you even though I own REM, I give my editor complete control over what gets published. So she even pushed back on me. So my original article was inspired by original page two Bill Simmons from like 2004. I don't know if you ever read that back then. But he basically was like a sports writer who like one of the original bloggers, like ESPN.com, when he was writing for them, he was 80% of their traffic. Like he was huge. Like I used to have alerts set on like my emails every time he got a new article written. I'd
Hmm.
go stop what I was doing. My buddies would go stop. We'd go to our computers and read his article. Like it was that popular at the time. Um, but like one of the ones that he did, and I've copied this when I was an agent too, is merging pop culture into like the topics you like. So one that I did for the marketing trends, my original draft, was each of the trends. I actually explained it through a Vince Vaughn movie quote. So I'd take like a popular Vince Vaughn movie quote and then have that be the opening like subtitle of that trend and then go that way. And it's like so it's like the personality gets up significantly on it. And it's not SEO optimized, it's optimized for the reader to like
Hmm.
but to attract people who also would appreciate that type of humor and end up being like 2,700 words. Super in-depth article. So I think the final one that ended up on REM was like 900 words and none of that in it. So I took
Hmm.
it and I published the original on my angelfoliato.com just as like hey, you can see behind the process. Here's how I got cut. Because we'll sometimes have people like submit something and get mad that we want to change it. I was like, even mine get changed. But
Hmm.
like I wanted to try that of like how would people react if I put out like a completely different tone of article compared to what's normally on REM.
Oh, yep.
Yeah. So just trying new things like that. Like it's so I like to once in a while try those things. So like for the next little while, inbox zero will be more that I'm just gonna completely unedited see how it goes. Because
Hmm.
I have a little bit of a theory on a couple things. One of them is people are getting tired of the overproduced stuff. And because like that's what everyone's doing. This is a little bit different. It's just come on, go, off. My other theory, which is a just sell homes bet, which we're going to switch to, I think everyone mostly is tired of recurring payments because there's so many of them all the time. So we're going to switch from a recurring training model to you just buy the trainings you want. It's like we're testing out our first one, which is like a workshop on Tuesday. It's just a one-off payment for the workshop itself, and then there's no commitment. You're done after. That's it.
Hmm.
And we're just going
Hmm.
to start doing more of those on an ongoing basis. But it also forces us to like keep upping our game because we got people obviously keep coming to them. But it's that idea of like I think if people prefer a more a la carte approach, because like a lot of our like we actually look last year at our most profitable stuff, the a la carte stuff often ended up being the most profitable, even though it's you have to keep reselling it. But when we actually look at it, that was still the most profitable for us. So it's an interesting little some switches we're making there. But
Well,
again, we're just
Ryan, am I going to say this right? Godlinton, he is looking forward to the 14th.
it's gonna be
So
good.
Andrew's doing a, what is your training on?
It's 12 deals in 12 months for Instagram. So it's
Let's
basically
go.
we're walking you through. the plan. Actually, while we're here, I'll give you a little preview because I think you'll find it interesting. And I'd love your feedback on it. And if you're coming on the 14th, you can see the high level map that we're going to do. It's got to open up Freeform. Do you use Freeform?
I
I,
don't.
I love Freeform. I'm a big nerd. So it's built into Mac computers and you can like
Mhm.
map out stuff with it. So like obviously you can just like move stuff around and it's still
Oh
going. I
man,
got
they
this.
bought a mine node.
Yeah, they just now it's free and on Macs as like a default program. But
Okay, this
basically,
is new for me.
the the idea behind it is again, by the time Tuesday comes around, this will look a little bit cleaner. Uh, but it's this idea of reels drive them into these different steps, and then how it kind of all fits together to find the qualified leads or the not ready ones within that. But it's just like here's the full, and this is what I started like if you actually, I'll maybe pull up another one in a minute, but like we now start mapping this out for everything we do of like what
Mhm.
is that look like the and then you have the decision diamonds of like where does that go if they pick it like well, I'll show one. I'll just have to minimize it for a second. I'll show you the zoomed out one that we did for a client because I can't sometimes clients like to keep their full sales plan
Oh,
confidential, but
that's
the mapped
unfair. Yep.
yeah, but the mapped out version you can see like when you really get into it how nuts it can be. So this is one that we're launching soon.
Holy
A little
Dinah.
more in depth, right? So it's like they go this way, oh, they go this way, then this happens. If they go this way, this happens. Then if they go there, and it's just like each section along the way, and then we're testing out a more. So this is like their traditional one with optimizations. This is the 10% new down here, where we're trying to simplify how crazy this one is. And if we can get this one to work, obviously we'd way prefer to have one that's just this simple than this.
Mm-hmm.
But we're
Absolutely.
it's a great tool that I love for mapping that type of stuff out. But
Hmm.
that's what
Well,
we're
I
doing with
used
the
to use
Instagram one.
mine node, and
Yep.
then last year, I think a couple years ago, I used Google Draw
Yep.
or Google Design. I can't remember what it's called, but either way, it's part of my Google suite. But
There's a lot of
this
them out
is,
there.
yeah, this feels like Mac's version of that.
Yeah, it's super useful, but it's like obviously you have to know what you're doing with it, which is like you have to know what you're mapping out. But I'm a visual person when I do things like this, and it helps me like for me it helps me identify the gaps.
Mm, gotcha.
Because I always find like if I don't map it out that way, it's harder. It's the same way like when I'm planning, like let's say I wanted to help map out the perfect open house.
Hmm.
For me, it works better to think, okay, I put myself in the eyes of the buyer coming in. From the second, like wherever they find out about the open house, what's every step related to it along the way? So I have to think about that process and then say, okay, how can I improve each one?
Hmm.
I like to use things like that to then actually map that out. And then you can actually start putting in the improvements. But actually, we need to do this exercise. It's not like it's well, remember we did the in-person mastermind. So next
Hmm.
time, this is one of my favorite in-person masterminds. I just got the notification on Facebook that we did one 5 years ago. And you use post-it notes. And you get everyone, let's say that we took a how do you respond to a realtor.ca lead? Because we've talked about that before.
Hmm.
And everyone on a post-it note, each individual post-it note is each micro step you take in the conversion process from the second it's generated. And everyone
I
does
think.
it. And then you push them all up on the wall. And then you say, okay, who has a step earlier than this? And then you end up with this like unbelievably in-depth wall of everyone's micro strategies and tactics.
Okay,
And
what
they're
you're seeing
all
on
merged
screen
in one.
here is an example of how you and I think alike.
Yeah.
So, very similar in our core process. These are all my tabs about the different stages in our remarkable buying experience.
Yep.
And I map it out visually and then put everything in a Google sheet that acts like an index and indexes out to other sheets and docs. So it's all kind of in one place where we can project it.
Yep. I like it.
Yeah. So very similar in how we kind of align up. Now, this is kind of a good segue because making a plan and making like a sequence that you can follow is really a lot of how real estate works once it's organized. You know, once you have a business running, you really have to think about how are you going to talk to the people that already have trusted you, right? How are
Yep.
you going to get to them and their friends? How are you going to talk to the people that will work with you this coming year? And what are you going to talk to them about? And when are you going to talk to them? So taking a look at that calendar overall and saying, this is the first full week of January. How do we get out of the blocks and take our first few steps? Should be secondary to how am I going to know it works?
Yeah.
So starting us off here, if we don't measure, we can't manage. What do you look for when you're like, all right, how do I know if my marketing is working? What does the key points look like to fire into a Google sheet?
So I work back from the end at the process. This is why you need a mapped out process, because then you look at what steps tell me where it's working along the way. So we'll map it out and then we'll start at the end and be like, okay, obviously the most important is, close deals. Step before that, signed contracts. So like signed contracts there. Okay, how do I get a signed contract? Then it's here. Then we work it back. So then we'll look at the conversion rate from each step to the one after it. But we start at the end and work our way back. Right. So like at the front end, you're eventually going to end back at impressions, wherever that impressions is from. Right. Like that could be Facebook ad impressions. It could be billboard impressions, radio impressions. Just people have seen your brand, your messaging out there. And then typically, depending on the medium, it comes down to essentially either click-through rate or call-through or something like that. So what's the rate of people who see that message who then take any action whatsoever? But what that next one is after that depends on your system. Because some people are just trying to generate phone calls, which then you go straight into how many book appointments. Other people, it's okay, I want people to sign up for my community newsletter that tells them about what's going on in the community. Then it's how many people open that newsletter. How many people then click through on my calls to action, right? Like you have to really understand your marketing program to build the right ones. And that's why you need that flow mapped out so that you can say, if someone comes in here, I know exactly how to get them over here. And then at each step, this is the metric of how I know they're getting to that next one. Like I was talking about my team with it today for our one program we're doing. Like we have on one thing, we have 2,000 people through to a page. Just the way we set up this one, because we had to do it last minute, we don't have tracking from each individual source. So we know that how many came to the page, but we just, in a rush, didn't set up okay, this source, they're converting on that page at this rate versus this source. So like we know overall it's about a 20% conversion rate on that page, but I don't know if the newsletter's converting at 40 and then the Facebook ads converting at 5, or is it vice versa?
Mm-hmm.
So like we don't know those details yet, which you also want to know long term. But for now, you just need to
I'm going to
simplify
unpack this a little bit. So what we're talking about is you put out content and then you see who sees it, impressions, see who engages with it. And then after that is one of those decision diamonds that Andrew was talking about, where you got to choose your own adventure, like the books. Now, most of the world is saying, hey, do you want to look at property? That's what they're like the most common strategy. And then they get them to look at property and possibly like activate other sequences of events that result in meetings. Okay.
Right.
Mainly send them to houses. Once they find a house that they like, that they want to see, now you're in the game.
Yeah.
Another call to action would be, I want my phone to ring, so call me. So what this marketing is basically, normally it's about conversion. So maybe you're looking at an individual or a small team that isn't dedicating a lot of time to chasing leads, follow up, and the conversion methods that the people that are really into meeting strangers online that they do. Yeah. So then they would just drive to a phone. And the reason is because this is their marketing action, right? To get people to call them so they get to go deliver their thing. And if you don't have that, then the only thing you have is who did I run into at this open house or at that barbecue? Like it's all sales driven. And then you can say, okay, I want to scoop more from here. So I'm getting the people that want to call me. I'm sending another group that isn't ready to call me. I'm going to send them off to view property. I'm offering an email newsletter because for people that are into that, that's going to keep me in the game for future. And so what I'm doing is learning how to harvest more crops off of the people that are kind of coming through. And you build this basically in the beginning, and then you start to stack it. In the beginning, you should be doing rough metrics. Why? Tracking is homework. Tracking is doesn't feel good. It's not great
Yeah.
to do. But the big things is, are you doing deals from here? So every deal you do, it's so important that you know the source. Where did you hear about me? Where did I find you? Then the second thing would be following those tracks back. Like imagine every time that you heard the ding, I'm getting paid, that you'd be like, okay, how the heck did I do this? What happened before this that led to this? Okay, what happened before that? And
Yeah.
before that, and before that.
Like
And then the
using
key
referrals in
element,
there is key, right? Like this is a mistake I see most people do when they track referrals. Like let's say you referred me a client. I said Taylor referred me a client. Great. Taylor's a great source for referrals. But what most people don't track then is, but where did you come from? Did someone refer you? And then I go back to that, right? Because like you can uncover something unexpected sometimes that way of like
mhm,
keep going back until you like can't go back anymore.
and you want evidence,
No,
okay? You should not be putting effort where there isn't evidence.
no. You can
So if
save
you're
some
like, oh
for
man,
bets,
or
right?
if it's infrequent evidence, I get one lead a year from here.
Yeah.
I'm going to put the majority of my money here. Andrew was talking about 70-20-10. You might use that 10 to continue to explore that. In fact, major corporations regularly use about 10% of the resources, including money, to investigate a new initiative before they do it. Why? Because they get burned with big numbers.
Yeah.
So the same thing. Do you have evidence that money comes from there? And then the other thing, what would it be like to develop this?
Yeah.
This is where everybody fails on neighborhood farming.
Yeah.
Is because if somebody were to show them what it would take to develop that, they just wouldn't do it. It
Yeah,
takes
like
a lot. You got to be present there. You cannot win with postcards alone right now in real estate.
and anytime you take a bet on something new, you have to sit down and say, what would success look like for me to like essentially what's the start, stop, continue metrics for
Oh, the
this?
stop one, the one that
Yeah.
nobody uses.
Yeah. What would mean I should kill? Like I just killed a program we were running.
No,
We're
let's
about to
just do
like,
it until it makes us sad, Andrew.
yeah, it's great, right? And we
No,
lose a
you
bunch of money
can't
on it.
navigate by feel. This is an emotional
Yeah.
roller coaster. You're constantly tied to people with stress. You need to set
Yeah. Well,
plans.
I was talking with an agent recently and they're like, yeah, but this source of leads is free, so I can just do it as much as we want. And I'm like, but the opportunity cost isn't. Like you're spending your time doing this thing when that time could be spent doing this other thing over here that has worked.
And the default is normally the opportunity cost. I find that I
Yeah.
heard a divorce lawyer talking about this, and I thought it was so funny.
Yeah.
They're like, there's a lot of people that are offended by the word prenup, as if they either have a prenup or they don't. That's not how that works. You either get a custom one or you get the government issue one. That's the only options.
No.
So until you can see the contrast, you actually don't have the framework to make a decision. So when you're taking a look at that neighborhood farming initiative, you have to be like, okay, this is what success looks like. If it's working, this is how long it will take to show anything based on me talking to other experts that have already done this.
No.
I do a good analysis. I spend 10% of my resources exploring if I want to do this. And then I'm going to tell you, if you're good at real estate and you already feed yourself pretty well, 4 to 5 times you're going to pack it up and decide not to do it and be like, whew,
Well, like if
I'm
I
so
was
glad I didn't
today,
spend 2 years figuring this out.
right? But like if I was gonna go start a direct mail campaign today, right? Like the first thing I would do is find 3 agents I know, like I know have gotten results from direct mail.
Mhm.
Not that do direct mail, that I know have gotten results from it and build a business on it. And then I would call them up to find out like, all right, what have you learned in the process? What's worked, what hasn't worked, and what metrics do you track? And like how long to see results? Because like the amount of people I know who send direct mail, they're like, oh, I just sent out 1,000 postcards. I didn't get a deal, so I stopped. Like you have to send for months. But like I know someone right now, like he knows for every dollar he puts in, he gets $16 back now from direct mail. But it took him like a year of sending before that started
Mhm.
because I had to see that consistently going. So knowing that it's going to take a while is really important. That's where it's like, if I was anything I want to do, I want to talk to someone who's done it before. And most people are also just willing to tell you, right? Like, how many
Especially
people
if you
have you
find
talked to?
people that aren't in your market.
Yes,
Like that
that's
would be
huge.
where I would go.
Yeah, and this is what the one problem with like Facebook groups is people will go on and be like, "Hey, who has experience?" And then they'll ask on there, and half the answers are from people who don't actually do any business, which is very common. I've seen it way too many times where someone's like, "Yeah, you got to do this step, this step, this step, this step," and I was like, "I know your business. You do like 6 deals a year. Like you're telling them how to get 30, and you don't even do five." So it's knowing the source that's telling you the numbers, but you want to find like I know who I'd go to for direct mail as a starting point. And same with like if you go to me, I should know my numbers first. So like we're talking about in the workshop next week. For every 100 DMs you send, you should have 30 conversations, which should lead to 3 appointments and a deal.
Okay, talk measurement to me.
Yeah.
So we were saying that at the top we're measuring fun impressions and engagement,
Yeah.
and then we're going to split our call to action. And on
Yeah.
each one of these calls to action, we're going to measure things like how many DMs did we receive? Is that one of them?
So the one that like for Instagram, the way that I set it up is I do impressions as the first one.
Mm-hmm.
As a metric, this is a separate metric in there, but it's shares and saves as a but that's part of the ratio with impressions to me. So it's like here's how many people saw it. Shares and saves mean this is how many people actually liked it. Because a like in a comment means nothing. Like you'll go like posts I put up doesn't mean you liked it, but you're a friend, you're supporting me.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like that is a thing that happens. Or like if you drop a fire emoji, doesn't mean you cared about the content. You're just like, sweet Andrew, keep going. That happens. People are supportive of people they care about. But if you saved one of my posts, that means you liked it. If you shared it with someone, that means you wanted someone else to see it because it makes you look good to share it with them and makes them, there's something you're trying to get from them out of it in terms of a reaction. Like this is something you cared about. So I want to optimize for saves and shares. I don't care about likes and comments. Then it's, and this is where your strategy can change, right? So like for me, it's like how many DMs have I received? Because I right now am optimizing mine to get people to send me a DM. And I will switch this probably this year and test it a bit. Whereas also outbound DMs, right? So like every new follower, if you're doing the Instagram thing, you should DM them because they're a new follower. That's a lead. Send them a message. So then your metric might be instead of DMs received, it's DM sent. If it's DM sent, the next metric is DMs responded to. So if you've sent out 100, how many of them responded? And then it's appointments. If it's DMs received, it's how many of them are qualified. Because I want to know, am I generating the right DMs coming into my inbox? Because
Mm.
I did one campaign one time trying to get clients for a Instagram ad package. 60% of my DMs were from marketers who wanted to steal the idea. Didn't set that one up right.
Yeah, you just caught the wrong fish, right?
Yeah, it happens. We've been there.
But the cool thing is that you know that you have bait that fish will react to. You just got to tune
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
But this is why we measure. So each time that one of these metrics is falling short of our expectation, or if it's showing us that we're fishing for the wrong fish, then we can go back and make adjustments and watch for change.
Yeah.
Right. So what Andrew found out is that he put out content that was more interesting to experts instead of to amateurs. He's trying to work with amateurs. So if he tuned his message, he would actually probably bring it down a level and make it more direct.
Yeah.
And then he's going to talk to amateurs instead of experts, and he should see it in his qualified leads metric.
So what I actually did to switch on that one, which I got this idea from someone else, is I changed, and it was one of those ones where sometimes you just need to be reminded of things you know, and it's a classic case of I already knew this, I need to be reminded of it. Is I switched the language in the ad because I was talking about like I used a couple acronyms that advertisers on Facebook use. And
Mm.
I went and actually not only did I stop using the acronyms, I used terms only realtors would use.
MQL, SQL?
It wasn't that one, but similar idea
Yeah, I
of
gotcha.
right. If I'm in real estate, I'm going to say leads and prospects instead of MQL SQL.
Mhm.
But it was or like I'm not going to say ROAS to realtors. I'm gonna say ROI or something else like that, or I'm gonna be talking how many deals does this result in, right? And so I'm looking at, I have to change the language to the ideal people reading it. This is why, like, as a realtor, you should never say, check out my new listing, because consumers don't typically call them listings the same way. Some do, but to them, it's a new home for sale. It's like use that language because that's what they use. It's like I run campaigns all the time, like for homes with a big yard. But in some areas, it's homes with a big yard. Some it's homes with acreage. Some it's homes over that are rural.
What do you think about the word homes?
Um, Depends on the area.
I
What
find
do
that
people in
people
your area?
make homes, but they look for houses.
So, but this is where you have to know who's your ideal client,
Hmm.
right? Like a first-time buyer is looking for a house. A young family expanding might be looking for a home.
That's what I mean. I was surprised
Yeah,
in the keyword research around my area
yeah,
that it seems like people, when they're shopping, it's a house, but when it's theirs, it's a home. So there
yeah.
was like a delineating factor in the way that they looked at things, but that's really important to me as a marketer.
Yeah. That's why you need data on it, right? Like I did one recently because someone pitched me a product where they're like, we help people rank for a top, and it was a mortgage product they were trying to bring into real estate and they wanted my opinion on it. And they're like, this will help you rank. Like we rank number one on Google for top mortgage agent in or top mortgage in, and then they had a bunch of towns that
Hmm.
they would rank it. And I was like, great. And then, but if you search mortgage in town, not and took out top, they weren't on the first page at all. Now I went and compared Google Trends, top mortgage in. I just picked a town they said, and then just did mortgage in. And top mortgage in gets like one search a month. Mortgage in got 500.
Ah, yeah.
So top
So
mortgage
this
is
is like a
relevant.
little bit deeper, and this is something that we should definitely talk about as like a deep dive in a future episode.
Yeah.
Is do you like where do you want to fit in where you're investing your ad dollars?
Yeah.
Because you can try to be the big fish in a small pond, and that will dictate your frequency of opportunity, right? You could try to be a small fish in a big pond and grow over time and gain
Yeah.
relevance by like doubling down. There's some strategies here, but a lot of people don't understand that they're in ponds at all. That what the words that their content is made up of become scores on the internet, and some of them are more valuable than others.
I like it. Do you ever play video games? I don't know if you're a video gamer.
Yes.
Okay, so you will appreciate this analogy. Is I approach it like when you're building a business, similar to how you could go through a video game. Is at the beginning, you're not skilled and your character sucks. And they have to work and level up and they beat someone who's like tough to beat. Then they go to the next level, get a little bit stronger, a little bit stronger. And then by the end of the game, you go back to that first level and it's just like that thing that caused you hours of problem. Now you're just like, you can flick it off because you've
Mhm.
grown so much and you're so big now. But that's the same here, right? Like when you're starting out, that thing that like someone huge might just be like, whatever. You might struggle and have to work really hard to get through because you haven't leveled up there yet. So you're in that
Mhm.
little pond now. It's like the training ground to level up your skills, then you go. So it's figuring out where you are.
Okay, let's tie this down to a little bit of a timeline because for everybody starting out this year that is not brand new at real estate, there's going to be some key criteria that you want to hit this year with your marketing. And we're talking about internal and external.
Yeah.
But this is going to turn into a work rate. So you got to turn it into a calendar. Like for me right now, I am working towards my first mail out of the year.
Okay.
So my first mail out of the year, the payload in it is home show tickets. I buy the tickets. I spend extra to get the tickets. You know why? I love the mail weight. When somebody pulls that out of whatever people have sent them, it feels different. It feels like there's something inside. And that's like an advantage to me. Now, I also send it with a newsletter. The newsletter normally just says some things that I think will get attention. So it's more so about like right now our market's exciting, so it's easy to talk about stuff like that. And then
Yeah.
we normally also talk about what's coming, and we'll be doing save the date for a kid or a family oriented event that's coming.
No.
So we're going to send them to the home show. We're going to tell them about a future event. And then we're going to fill in the middle with friendly pictures and a little bit of stuff saying real estate spicy in case you want to talk about it.
And what would you say is your main metric of success when you send that out?
If you want it to start really small, it's how many return addresses I get. The reason I'm using the mail is so that if people moved without me, I can pull them out of my database where before I spend any more 2025 money on them.
Yep.
So that is part of the metrics I'm going to look at. The second would be a QR code related to like that save the date. So I'm going to have one thing on there that people can kind of click and take part in. Then the third is how many people are actually going to attend the home show. So normally, I think the bill I get, I bet you I send out something like...
you get charged if they attend, right? Not
which
just
is
by
so
getting the
sweet.
ticket. Yeah.
Because you get credit for the gift even if they don't attend, but you only have to pay for it if they do.
Yeah.
Is that sweet or what?
It's all deal.
So that means that I get to give them something that they can use or not use. It comes in the mail. It's tickets that sit on the fridge. Like there's some good stuff to this. And then they go to the home show, and often I can use that in my follow-up calls. Did you go to the home show? That kind of thing. And I also know what the spend ends up being. I think I send out like 1,000 of these things.
Yeah.
And I bet you that 100 people maybe go.
So
maybe 150.
If I was doing that campaign, my main metric that I would want is how many conversations did it start?
Ooh, like it.
Right? Like, did they call me to thank me? Did they call me and say, hey, thanks for the home show tickets. I can't make it. I'm thinking of selling. But like, did it generate conversations with people in my database? Like, yeah, it's great if they go to the home show. That means they found value, but like they might have met another realtor there because I'm sure realtors have booths there.
Love it.
You don't know that. So for you, it's like, all right, did I get a conversation? And these don't have to be conversations about selling. I don't think that is, and it doesn't even have to be
just
about
did this
real
spur
estate.
connection.
Yeah. Did we, and it could be a text message, a phone call, an email, Instagram DM, doesn't matter. Smoke signal, I don't care. But did I get a conversation out of it? Because like for me, I like to have all my metrics for the different stages, and then I'll pick 2 or 3 what we call North Star metrics, which are, I know everything's chugging along nicely if we're also hitting these, right? So like along the way. So like one for me is like, how many new people did we have a conversation with this week? Although stuff could be like optimizing for that. And then after that, we're optimizing to then like get more qualified in and get more appointments booked. But at the end of the day, I know if I'm having more conversations, ultimately our business will grow. So a North Star metric at one of them would just be how many new people do we have a conversation with this week, regardless of medium. Because I know if that number is growing or always hitting a minimum, there is always going to be business coming in. So it's for you, it's like picking one of those 2 or 3. I think listing appointments is a no-brainer for every agent. Listing appointments, buyer appointments, those type of things, like in person to get a contract signed, you always need those. But the step before that would also be how many conversations.
Okay.
And then
so I'm taking a look
deals.
at that, and I always have this like other step in there. There's something called the thank you exchange. It's a theory from Robert Cialdini, the writer of Influence.
Have it.
And the thing that I like about it is what it does is, you've got the book there?
Yeah, it's on that side. I thought I had it here, but it's over there.
Highly recommend. He really understands this like click whir response, this auto response that people have. So one of the things that we do every year is we do these Christmas potpourri jars or simmer jars that we deliver to our database. We just finished that. One of the things that I can't believe I wasn't doing up until now was engaging for reviews from clients that didn't give us reviews yet based on the bounce of that. So this year I teamed it up with an email. So we went and delivered the jars, and then I sent an email that was kind of themed with it to everybody who received them, saying, we really appreciate you guys, and if you wanted to support us and you feel as though we earned it, then give us a 5-star review on Rank My Agent. It was successful. I think we got 27 reviews,
When
and that's a
you guys like hand pack the like potpourri thing too, right?
yeah, yeah.
Do you know what I would love for you to do with that
Okay.
next year? Film behind the scenes of you because you guys hand make them.
Yeah, we do that.
Film film a behind the scenes of you guys making it, and the QR code links to the video that gets handed with it. That tells the story of how much effort your team put behind it.
Hmm.
Because now it's like, because they might just think you went to the store and slapped a sticker on it with your name,
I gotcha.
right? Like you want to show, because then you also now have your team working together, having fun with it. Obviously, you're gonna have like B-roll of you guys laughing and having a good time, and then wish them a happy holidays at the end of it. But it's like that you get a little bit of extra storytelling there as part of it. You just got to be coordinated on that.
Yeah, I could use Bomb to send the video. This could be cool.
Yeah,
So I could either do it with a QR code on there, and then we could send it to maybe a video of like us showing how to get the
yeah,
simmer jar set up, or maybe
yeah,
like an extra related to it.
yeah,
Or we could also send this email out like we did last year, but use Bomb to put a video in it
yeah,
that shows the making of the Christmas jars. Or what would be funny is some type of like joke about how the Christmas jars are made.
yeah. It's just
Yeah, like that would be pretty funny. So
yeah,
I think I'm gonna think on that, but but they would see how much work goes into the jars as
yeah,
part of that video, and then hit
yeah.
it from there.
And then at the end of the video, it's like, do you have a neighbor who would like a jar?
Mm.
Would you like us to gift? But like you have to watch through the video, right? Like you don't talk about it anywhere else. So like only the most engaged people are getting to there, and now they're gonna reach out to you and be like, "Yeah, I think I'd love to get one of these for my neighbor John." Be like, "Great, what's his address?" I'll include a little note saying it was a gift from you, from us, and it's like that little life. But like, the only people who are gonna do there have gone all the way through to the end of this. So it's like a little Easter egg for the most engaged. Because then that's another metric. How many people got to the end and actually requested one?
Hmm.
Then you
Interesting.
also know who really liked them too.
Yeah, that's something I go back and forth on because I want to deliver them whether or not they use them. Like
Yeah.
the fact that they just show up there is kind of key to my plan. So,
But I
um,
always like to know, like, right, like if I'm giving that out as the thing, are there people who get it who are like, ugh, this again? I have to go throw that out.
well, I didn't measure for a long time,
Yeah.
but I could tell you anecdotally when I run into people, they mention it, and several people that we have appointments with refer to our gratitude gifts.
Yeah.
So I do know it hits. And also with this Christmas thing, man, did we ever hit it with that? Being part
Yeah.
of people's Christmas traditions.
Oh, it's great.
The
Especially
You know how else
smell.
we know it's working? If we miss one or return or send to the wrong address, we get messages. I
I
did
did
not
that
get
with
my jar.
I did that with Puppy of the Week recently. I don't know if you saw it in my
You delivered the
newsletter.
puppy of the week to the wrong address?
No, I took
I'm
it
just
out.
kidding.
I 1 week as a test, I took Puppy of the Week out of the JSH newsletter. That was the most email replies we ever got. Those people telling us to put the Puppy of the Week back in. And yeah, like it's those little, but like I always like to test little things like that to make sure that it's working. And then once in a while, I'll
Okay.
just pull a couple people out and be like, "Do you like it? What'd you think of it?" That type of thing. Like people you trust, be like, "What'd you think of this? Is this something you'd want to keep getting?" And then maybe if you have other ideas, be like, "Or would you prefer something like this?" But I like that you have a signature thing, right? Like the signature thing that no one else does is key.
Shout out to Jamie Hack, my wife.
Yeah,
She that was just like a murderous move early in our
yeah.
business. We've been doing it for over a decade now.
Do you put
Definitely
them in your
known
open
for it.
houses? Like, if you
No.
do an open house, you should bring one to it. Like, make it like
Oh,
your scent.
this is awesome. And I really appreciate being your guinea pig. So I'm trying to take my homework seriously here. And my list is going to be things like so we're going to measure two things. We're going to measure my own Instagram and we're going to
Yeah,
measure the Hack and Co Instagram, which is my business Instagram. Now, the business Instagram, that focus is to reshare things that our teammates post
yeah,
and then also to market property. Okay, that's what like that page is for, both on Instagram and Facebook. So we're just going to hit three platforms. We're going to do Facebook, we're going to do Instagram, and until they turn the lights out, we're going to do TikTok. Um,
I'll turn them out
my
here.
focus is going to be on Reels,
Yep.
and then I'm going to be measuring engagement. Now, my calls to action is I'm driving to my DMs.
Okay.
So I think I'm going to be able to get more conversations started. I'm happy to close the phone number later.
Are you doing DMs like as in like they're DMing you or you're DMing them?
They're DMing me.
Yeah.
But I would also be open to DMing anybody who follows me.
Okay. Perfect.
So I'm open to turning this into a work rate.
Yeah. Actually, I'll show you one video. So, because this is a great example of simplicity and it works. So, like, Jessica Patello, right?
Mhm.
We had her, we were working with her on her Instagram. 3 videos, 2 clients from them.
Let's go.
So let me pull it up here and I'll show everybody. It's one of those ones you're just like, yes, it just works. But like they're so unbelievably simple. So don't go following her because that'll screw up her algorithm. But let's go make sure I can share the computer sound. I want to make sure I can do that. Where do I forget now where I switched to add in the computer sound? Um, oh, share computer sound. Perfect. So we'll do like this one, for example.
Up.
Real talk, what are some hidden costs when upsizing?
Hitting costs when upsizing. Okay. So it's not just about a bigger mortgage. There's definitely some things that could sneak up on you here. First, closing costs. We're talking lawyer fees and land transfer tax. You can definitely expect these to be more pricey than your first purchase. And then there's property taxes, utilities, and maintenance. Bigger home, bigger bills. So in the words of my boy Biggie,
The more money you make, the more problems you get.
and don't forget, commissions are taxable. At the end of the day, knowing the hidden costs is a secret sauce to keeping your budget in check. So if you're thinking about upsizing, you already know what to do. Hit me up.
Yo, Jess,
What's up?
Super simple and it works. Like
Excellent.
literally the first 3 of those videos, 2 clients from them.
That's fantastic. Where do you guys do the captions?
I use an app called Captions.
The app called Captions. That's
Yeah.
handy.
So
as
there I pay so there's like 2 tiers of it.
Mhm.
There's a free, well, there's 3. There's the free tier, which I don't use. And then there's a second tier, which is just like the basic captions, which most of you all you need. And then there's a third tier that I'm paying for right now that does like an AI avatar version of me, which I more just been playing around with, not using in my marketing yet, where you just like talk for one video, then it recreates you as an AI avatar. And it also does what's called AI edits, where it does like the quick hits with different graphics throughout automatically based on your video. Um,
Hmm.
did that as a test. Like those ones actually got less engagement overall.
Is it this one?
Um,
Oh, you probably can't see that.
it's very blurry, but I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. So yeah, it's super easy. Like you throw it in there, does the captions. But yeah, like that's one that we're working on a lot on social this year is essentially the ditch Canva movement of stop putting so much design and stuff, be more raw, right? Like
Gotcha.
if I was to share market stats, I would definitely stop doing like graphics on the screen as like a post. I would do a green screen with it behind me, and it's built into Instagram now, where you can just do a green screen and upload a photo behind you. And I would just be like, "Here's the stats. Let's talk about it." And then it's that
Hmm.
like you over the green, like that more raw kind of like, let's talk about these stats here. Here's what it means for you. Because at the end of the day, they can get market stats anywhere. What it means for you or your interpretation of it is why people come to you versus someone else. So it's like
Yeah. So I think
that
that this
side.
is, I think that what you're talking about. So I'm headed to the same goal,
Mhm.
and this is what I see.
Yeah, exactly that idea.
Yep. So what we're looking for is, so I did this with Canva actually. I made the slide first, and then I filmed it in TikTok.
Yeah. Now here, like your caption, I'd put a little bit more into it. Like it's,
Hmm.
and then I'd do a more specific call to action in the caption as well.
Mm.
right? Like if you're looking at the average consumer, like if you're asking agents that question, what's the most undervalued segment of undervalued market? Agents might know that. You think the average
Ah,
consumer has any idea what that is? Or could contribute to that without them worrying that they might look dumb if they comment?
okay. So the exact same thing you were just telling me about how you were talking to experts and you ended up with experts responded. The likes on that video are all realtors.
But now that's not just because of that video. That's also because I think you engage with agents so much. They're in your last
All my
50. That's
friends
who.
are agents. They're like the
So
only people that get me. It's
this was
them and
the,
you, Andrew.
it happens. But this was the problem, exact same problem with Jess, and we had to get her to work on it. That's why she only has 3 videos after like a month of working together on it, is because she had to reset essentially her account to be consumers. Because let's oversimplify the algorithm completely. It's the last 50 people that engaged with you. It's who's seeing your content the next time you post.
Mm,
So if you are in somebody's last 50 interactions, they're going to see your content. Your like people who have you in their last 50 interactions, I bet 90% or more are in the industry.
I hear you.
So almost everything you post is going to be seen by people in the industry. You have to go and deliberately stop engaging with them, which is tough. Or you say Hack and Co's the consumer, Taylor Hack's the agent focused one, but you can't do both.
Hmm.
One account, one
Or
audience.
okay, or I need to make another account that's like industry Taylor, or
Yes.
yeah, or vice versa.
But that like we look at it as one account once. Like teams, we typically say what it ends up being is the team account like Hack and Co is the consumer facing one. Now, that's also not going to do as well as if it was Taylor Hack, because like people would rather do business with people. And this
Yeah,
is
and
where it
that's
comes
why
into
I'm
your team
talking to
setup.
them about
Yeah.
consumers, but we're marketing property
Yeah. But this
on
is
our
where
business
like it
site.
depends on your team setup. So like if your team members, if you can get them active on Instagram, how I would then do it is your team account is more a feeder account for them to have regular content, but they're the ones talking to people, right? So like you're inviting, like if you have a listing and like Anthony on your team is the list agent for that property, then you add him as a collaborator with that post, so it shows up on his feed and the call to actions to DM him, not Hack and Co.
So that's what we do now, but we
Yeah.
also are going to go further with that, then have other teammates that are talking about like shooting video about aspects of Anthony's new listing.
Yeah.
Like, hey, one of my teammates is putting up a listing in this neighborhood, and these are the schools that this falls into, or
Yeah.
here's my 3 things I like about this neighborhood. So we're trying to
Yeah.
double down on more content this year, and I'm
Yeah.
excited to talk to you about that flow. We were
Yeah.
talking about it a little bit last year. We're going to be selling more info. We've started to test our alternate primary picture.
Yep.
Andrew got me access to the place on realtor.ca where I can do my metrics. So we're going to start to lean into this stuff as we go. And as per usual, I am going to be as gracious a guinea pig as I can as
And
we
we'll
start to
report
morph.
the results.
Yep. And we'll get that new website going and we'll get some ads in action so that everybody here can kind of join in that conversation. And that's really what we want to see is show up, give a shout out, right? Like thanks to Dinesh and Ryan and Scott. We appreciate that you guys show up here and contribute. We hope you guys are having an excellent new year and excited for what's going to happen in 2025. And we're going to continue to break down on Andrew's side, the marketing, on my side, the conversion, and help us all do a little bit better this year or a lot better. Let's go for great.
And in 2 weeks, I'm going to be filming the episode on my end from the Banff Western Connection Conference. So if anyone's at that conference, 1, say hi. 2, if you want to sit in on the live recording, shoot me a message and I will find a way to let you sit in while I record. If that's something you're interested in, well, you might not be. You might be busy in Banff at the conference. But if that is of interest to you and you're at the event, shoot me a message and we'll make it happen.
That's awesome. Well, I'm going to be or not this week, but the next week. I'm going to be in Orlando with
You'll be
the
in Orlando,
top.
I'll be in Banff.
Okay, well, I'll be back from Orlando that Thursday.
Okay.
I'll be fresh back from hanging out with some of the top agents in North America at a
Nice.
conference in Orlando. You're going to be talking to Canadian, mostly industry-focused conversations.
This year's the
at
first year they're
Connection.
trying to get more realtors there than just the industry side.
Well, we appreciate that. I have no interest on the inside industry. I'm a realtor who just wants to sell things and talk about it. So if you guys change that a little bit, you're going to have to keep me out.
See what I can do.
All right. Well, thanks so much. Always good to chat with you, Andrew.
You too. It's been fun.
My name is Taylor Hack. I am a realtor in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. I'm here with Andrew Fogliato, owner of Real Estate Magazine, owner of Just Sell Homes, and great to see you. Happy New Year. We'll see you next time.
See you, everyone.